Imagine having a camera so powerful that it completely changes how you see mobile photography. Samsung is just 8 days away from dropping the S26 Ultra, and the camera upgrades they've packed into this device are absolutely game-changing. We're talking about 8 major improvements that could finally put Samsung back on top of the camera phone throne. While some benchmark sites might disagree, Samsung's Ultra series has been the go-to choice for Android users who want professional-level photography in their pocket. But here's the thing. Samsung isn't playing it safe with the S26 Ultra. They're making bold moves that could completely shift the mobile camera landscape. From aperture improvements that crush low-light performance to AI enhancements that make every shot look professionally edited, this phone is packing some serious heat. So grab your coffee, settle in, and let's break down exactly why the S26 Ultra might be the camera upgrade you've been waiting for. Let's start with the star of the show, that main camera. Samsung has been using the same 200-megapixel sensor for 3 generations now, and honestly, it was getting a bit stale. But with the S26 Ultra, they're keeping the 200 megapixels count while making a change that photography enthusiasts will absolutely love. The new sensor is physically larger than before, which means it can capture more light and detail in every shot. But here's where it gets really interesting. They're upgrading from an f/1.7 aperture to an f/1.4 aperture. Now, if you're not familiar with camera specs, this might sound like a small number change, but it's actually huge. A wider aperture means the camera can let in significantly more light, which translates to brighter images, especially in challenging conditions. This upgrade means you'll get less motion blur, faster shutter speeds, and portrait shots that look incredibly sharp and professional. The colors will also look more natural thanks to Samsung's new image processing improvements. Moving on to the ultra-wide camera, and this is where things get a bit mixed. The ultra-wide lens is honestly one of the most underrated features on smartphones today. Samsung is keeping the same 50-megapixel sensor with an f/1.9 aperture and that impressive 120-degree field of view. The sensor size remains at 1/2.5 inch with 0.7 micrometer pixels, plus phase detection autofocus. Basically, it's identical to the previous generation, which isn't necessarily bad since the S25 Ultra's ultra-wide was already pretty solid. But it does feel like a missed opportunity for Samsung to really push the boundaries here. Now let's talk about the telephoto situation, because this is where Samsung is making some interesting moves. The main telephoto camera is getting a significant upgrade with that 5x zoom lens. They're improving the aperture from f/3.4 to f/2.8, which again means more light entering the camera. For telephoto shots, this is crucial because you're already dealing with less light due to the zoom magnification. This upgrade should result in clearer, less pixelated zoom shots, especially when you're capturing subjects at a distance. Samsung has always been competitive in the zoom game, but this improvement might finally give them the edge they need over the competition. The secondary telephoto camera situation is a bit more confusing, and even the leaks seem uncertain about this one. Early reports suggested Samsung would upgrade from a 10-megapixel to a 12-megapixel sensor for the 3x telephoto. But new information indicates they might use a 12-megapixel sensor that outputs 10-megapixel images. This approach could potentially capture more detail by using the extra pixels for better image processing, but the final resolution would remain the same. It's a bit of a head-scratcher, and honestly, we'll have to wait for the official announcement to see what Samsung actually decides to do here. Here's something that could change how you use your phone's camera every single day. The new 24-megapixel default mode. Currently, Samsung's 200 megapixels cameras offer 3 main shooting modes: 200 megapixels for maximum detail, 50 megapixel for high quality, and 12 megapixels as the default. Most people end up using that 12 megapixels mode because it's faster to process and takes up less storage space. But Samsung might be switching to a 24 megapixel default mode, following Apple's lead, who already made this change. This would give you higher quality photos in your everyday shooting without the massive file sizes of the 200 megapixels mode. It's the sweet spot between quality and practicality, and it shows Samsung is thinking about how people actually use their phones. If you're more of a selfie person, Samsung has some good news for you too. The front-facing camera is getting a completely new sensor designed for better image quality and a wider field of view. This means you can fit more people into group selfies without having to stretch your arm to its absolute limit. There were rumors about Samsung adopting a square camera sensor to compete with the iPhone 17 Pro series, but that doesn't seem to be happening this year. Still, any improvement to the selfie camera is welcome, especially since social media isn't going anywhere. Now let's dive into the AI enhancements, because this is where Samsung is really pushing the envelope. Samsung has made it clear that AI will be a major focus for the S26 series, and the camera system is getting a significant piece of that attention. We're talking about improvements in pre- and post-image processing, which means the phone will be smarter about how it captures and enhances your photos automatically. Subject and face detection will be more accurate, so portrait mode and focus tracking will work better than ever. Pixel enhancement through AI means even average shots could end up looking professionally edited. These AI features work behind the scenes, so you get better photos without having to think about manual settings or post-processing. For the photography enthusiasts out there, Samsung is also upgrading the camera assistant plugin with some pro-level features. We're getting new video softening controls and enhanced autofocus options. Video softening will help you achieve that cinematic look that's popular on social media, while the advanced autofocus controls give you more precision over what your camera focuses on. These might seem like small additions, but for content creators and photography hobbyists, they could make a real difference in the quality of your work. But here's where the S26 Ultra could really shine: low light performance. Currently, the iPhone often beats Samsung devices in dim lighting conditions, producing brighter, clearer images when the lights go down. The iPhone seems to magically illuminate shadowed areas that appear much dimmer on Samsung phones. But with that aperture upgrade from f/1.7 to f/1.4 on the main camera, Samsung could finally close this gap. That wider aperture allows significantly more light to hit the sensor, which is exactly what you need for better low-light photography. In dim conditions, that extra light could be the difference between a usable photo and one that's too dark to share. And speaking of competition with Apple, the Galaxy S26 Ultra is already showing impressive performance numbers. Recent Geekbench tests show the S26 Ultra scoring 3,761 points in single-core performance and 11,454 points in multi-core tests. Compared to the iPhone 17 Pro Max with its A19 Pro chip, the S26 Ultra actually comes out ahead in overall performance by about 17.6%. While the iPhone still edges out Samsung in single-core performance by about 3.5%, Samsung completely dominates in multi-core performance. The iPhone 17 Pro Max scored 9,741 points in multi-core testing, while the Samsung hit 11,454 points. This suggests that the S26 Ultra will handle demanding tasks like video editing, gaming, and heavy multitasking better than Apple's flagship. All of these camera and performance improvements are coming together for the official launch on February 25th in San Francisco. Samsung is clearly positioning the S26 Ultra as a complete package, not just a great camera phone, but a device that excels across the board. So here are 8 camera upgrades that could make the S26 Ultra the Android camera king once again. From that game-changing f/1.4 aperture to AI enhancements,